So, you've probably heard that China is going all in on AI. But here's the thing. This isn't just about building some cool new gadgets. It's a massive, high-stakes national strategy, and it's born out of some pretty urgent necessity. So, let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get a grip on China's AI blueprint, you have to start with the problem it's trying to solve. Because for them, this is, well, it's a race against a ticking clock. Which brings us to the big question, right? Why this enormous top-down bet on AI? And the answer, it's not buried in some tech report. Nope. It's all in the demographic numbers, and they are stark. All right, let's start with this number. We're talking about a projection that by 2050, China's workforce is going to shrink by at least 100 million people. I mean, that's not a gentle slope down. That is a demographic cliff, and it completely changes the game for their economic future. And here's why. In 2024, their fertility rate was just 1.0. Now, to put that into perspective for you, a country needs a fertility rate of 2.1 just to keep its population from shrinking. So 1.0? Yeah. This isn't just a little slowdown. It's a full-on demographic U-turn.
So what does all this mean? Well, it means that the economic engine that powered China for the last 40 years, the one built on a seemingly endless supply of cheap labor, that engine has basically run out of gas. That whole model, it's over. And this puts China right smack in the danger zone of something economists call the middle-income trap. So for Beijing, AI isn't just a cool opportunity, it's the escape hatch. It's the only way they see to supercharge their productivity and avoid getting stuck in economic quicksand. Okay, so we've established the problem, and it's a big one. So what's the solution? Let's take a look. Back in 2017, China rolled out this massive national plan that basically put its AI ambitions on display for the whole world. And this, right here, is the core goal, pulled straight from their big plan. Just look at the language they use. They don't want to just compete in AI. They want to be the world's primary AI innovation center. The ambition there, you can't miss it. And they didn't just state a goal. They laid out a super clear, step-by-step timeline. 2020, that was all about catching up. 2025, which is right around the corner, is for making major breakthroughs. And then, the big one, 2030. The goal? To be the undisputed world leader. Simple as that. But this is where it gets really wild. It's not just about the tech itself. Look at the money they're talking about. The goal is a core AI industry worth more than 1 trillion RMB. But then, that's supposed to power related industries to the tune of 10 trillion. Just let those numbers sink in for a second. This isn't about creating a new sector. This is a blueprint to rebuild their entire economy around AI. All right, but you can't just build a whole new economy without some rules of the road, right? So, China's been moving fast, building a legal framework to manage this whole AI revolution. And it's all built on 3 main pillars. So what are they? First, content moderation. Second, data protection. And third, something you really don't see much of anywhere else, algorithmic governance. It's a pretty unique way of doing things, targeting specific tech instead of trying to write one giant law for everything. So let's talk about that first pillar, content moderation. The main focus here is really all about control and accountability. The rules say that anything generated by an AI has to be totally traceable by law enforcement, from the second it's made to wherever it ends up online. And if you're a company working there, that means you have to build in things like backdoors and watermarks, which is, a pretty big technical challenge. And this is where you see a really key difference in how China's doing things. They're not just regulating what the AI produces, they're going deeper. They're regulating the algorithms themselves. So think about it like this. A ride-sharing app would literally have to register its pricing algorithm with the government to prove it's not being discriminatory. It basically forces companies to hand over their secret sauce to the regulators. Okay, so the ambition is off the charts. The plan is super detailed, but the big question is, will it actually work? Well, for a little reality check, we can actually look at the report card for its predecessor, a plan called Made in China 2025. Now, this was their big 10-year plan to become a global powerhouse in a whole bunch of high-tech industries, everything from robotics to electric cars. And how it played out gives us a fantastic window into the real strengths and weaknesses of this kind of top-down, state-driven model. And as you can see from this little report card, the results, well, they were a mixed bag, for sure. They had this massive breakout success with new energy vehicles, electric cars. They hit their sales goals 4 years ahead of schedule. But they really missed the mark on things like advanced aviation and becoming the world leader in high-speed rail. And semiconductors? Well, that's still very much a work in progress.
Yeah, let's just zoom in on this for a second.
It's like a tale of two industries. With EVs, China didn't just meet its goals, it absolutely crushed them. Today they hold something like 62% of the entire global market. But then you look at aviation. Their homegrown jet, the C919, was delivered years late, and it still doesn't have the international safety certifications it needs to really compete with Boeing or Airbus.
So what gives? Why the huge difference? Well, it looks like they succeeded where they could use massive state funding and control the whole supply chain to build just unbeatable economies of scale. Think EVs. But they struggled in areas where the barrier to entry was super high, and all the really important intellectual property was locked down by foreign companies. And this gives us a huge clue for their AI plan. We can probably expect them to be amazing at applying AI on a massive scale, smart cities, automated factories. But that race to invent the next generation of foundational AI models and the chips that run them, that's going to be a much, much tougher climb. Okay, and that brings us to the final piece of this puzzle. Because this whole plan, it's not just about changing China's own economy anymore. Now it's expanding. They're trying to shape the global rules of AI for everybody. And that shows a whole new level of confidence on the world stage. Get this. China has actually proposed creating a brand new international organization, they're calling it WICO, to set up a global governance system for AI. I mean, that is a crystal clear signal that they want to go from being a rule taker to a global rule maker in what is probably the most important technology of this century.
And that brings us right back to our big question, but now with this global angle to it. Is this whole incredibly ambitious plan really about a geopolitical race for global domination, or is it, at its heart, about pure economic survival?
Well, when you really dig into the policies themselves, the answer seems to be that the real AI race for China is an internal one. It's a race against that ticking demographic clock we talked about at the beginning. And AI is being positioned as the only engine that's powerful enough to keep their economy growing into the future.
So, this huge, detailed blueprint is already happening. It's designed to fix their biggest domestic problems while at the same time trying to set new rules for the rest of the world. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. China is actively writing the code for its own AI-powered future. The real question is the rest of the world ready to log in?